Welcome back, class 12. Today I will be continuing with the same chapter, that is executive. So basically, I want to make you understand about what is the difference between political executive as well as permanent executive. So it's very simple. Political executive, it's related to politics, and permanent means civil service, which I have already discussed in the previous video. So uh, this one, a political executive who are elected by the people for a specific period is called a political executive. We people elect that particular person and becomes MLA or a chief minister or prime minister. They are called the political executive. Example are political leaders such as prime minister, council of ministers, etc. They remain in office only so long as they command the confidence of the majority of members of the parliament. This means till they have a majority in the parliament, they remains in the office. They are answerable to the people for the consequences of their decision. So they should be answerable to whatever the decisions that they are taken by directly to the people. Okay, so they are the ones who have to answer, who have to give their reasons and logic and answer towards the people, because people have chosen them. They are more powerful, they take all final decisions. Who are more powerful? Permanent executive and political executives are very much permanent. So now permanent executives are salaried with civil servants who are appointed on a long term basis. Okay, they are a salaried person. Whoever who are appointed in the government offices, they are called a permanent executive. Person working on IS, Indian Administrative Service. Other one is IPS, Indian Police Service, and IFS, that is Indian Foreign Services. So these are the persons who will be working in a permanent executive. They remain in office even after the ruling party is changed. If the party is changed also, they will remain in the office and they continue to do their works, because the tenure of office is fixed only in the course of retirement. After retirement, they complete their work. They are not answerable to the people. They are not answerable to people. They just work. Okay, they are less powerful. Political executives are powerful, but permanent executives are less powerful. They do not take decision. Instead, they assist political executives in carrying out day-to-day administration. This means that they help political executives by planning out and help in taking decision making for to run this administration very smooth. So in we are talking about union executive. Okay, executive in India. So particularly the political executive. Okay, we are not focusing upon the permanent executive, but we are focusing on the political executive. And the in political executive, we have to learn about president as well as the prime minister. Vice president is also there, and council of ministers are also there in political executive. But in your syllabus, we have to understand what are the powers of president, what are the powers of prime minister. So let's start about president. The president of India. Indian president is the head of the state. He is the first citizen of India and is a symbol of solidarity, unity, integrity of nation. He is a part of union executive along with vice president, prime minister, council of minister, and attorney general of India. So it's very simple. There is no direct election. He is indirectly elected. Indirectly. President is indirectly elected as an electoral college elects him. The electoral college responsible for president election comprises of elected members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, legislative assemblies of the state, and legislative assemblies of union territories of Delhi and Puducherry, etc. Okay, so these are the people who come forward and indirectly elect the president, because uh, people, Lok Sabha, we elect people. Okay, But these elected representatives comes to the Lok Sabha and they cast their vote for the representation of nomination of president, and president becomes a this is how the president is elected in indirect way. Now, term of the president means once president is elected, he holds office for 5 years. 5 years of term. He sits in office even after the completion of 5 years, given no new election has taken place or no new president has been elected till then. So, after completing 5 years, also he continues to do his job. Okay, in case of if the president if the new president has not been elected, he can also be re-elected, and there is no cap on his re-election. He can be elected. President can be elected uh, after re-election also. Okay, re-election means indirect election also, so that there is no any fixed limitation that after 5 years of term that he or she should not be president. He has no cap on it, no limitations on there. Okay, now, qualification of president is very simple. I'll just read it out. A candidate has to meet some qualifications to be elected as a president. He should be citizen of India, minimum of 35 years, and he should not qualify. He should qualify the conditions to be elected as the members of Lok Sabha. He should not hold any office of profit on the central government, state government, and public authority. Okay, it's very simple. These are the qualifications that a person needs to be if he needs to be a president. Qualification. Now, impeachment process of president. This is like how presidents can be impeached. So, at first stage, Lok Sabha initiates an impeachment charge. Okay, the impeachment charges are signed by 1/4 of the Lok Sabha members. 14 days notice sent to the president. Okay, in first stage. Now in second stage, Lok Sabha passes the impeachment charges with 2/3 of majority and sends it to the Rajya Sabha. Now, 2/3 of majority and it sends to the Rajya Sabha. Then it reaches to Rajya Sabha. Then investigation charges. While Rajya Sabha is investigating the charges should be that what kind of charges is there that the president is not president should be impeached. The president has to say has the right to sit in the proceedings. Now there will be proceedings of hearings will be there, that you are charged of this thing, you are charged of this thing. Then he can sit for the trial also. Okay, then after Rajya Sabha agrees the charges and passes by the 2/3 of majority, the president is removed. So it is a stage wise manner. Okay, it does in a four stages. So please draw this one. This will be very easy for your understanding. Otherwise, in writing your multiple choice question, it will be very easy and systematic. Now, powers and functions of president. Let's understand what are the powers and function of president. For the executive, we are talking about executive function. We are talking about executive function. For executive actions that the Indian government is taken to be in his name, he may or may not make rules to simplify the transaction of business of the central government. He appoints the Attorney General of India and determines his remunerations. He appoints the following people, means who president appoints: comptroller and auditor general of this one, chief election commissioner and other election commissioner, chairman and the members of union public service, state governors, finance commission of India, and etc. He seeks administration information from union government, means he has a power to give certain administrative information. He requires Prime Minister to submit for a consideration of Council of Ministers and the matters which are decision. If a Council of Ministers are to be chosen by Prime Minister, and in that process of choosing, Prime Minister has to get certain green signal from president also. He has to, decision has to be taken by a minister but which has not been considered by the council. He appoints National Commission of Scheduled Castes, Scheduled Tribes and other backward classes. He appoints interstate council. He appoints administrators of union territories. He can declare area or as a scheduled area and has a power with respect and administration of scheduled area and that tribal area. So these are the certain executive functions that he performs. Like he can appoint, he requires, he wants an information before any council of ministers is chosen. Prime minister needs to take an accordance with the of the president, etc. Okay, now let's talk of legislative functions. He summons or progues parliament and dissolves the Lok Sabha. So it's very simple. What are the legislative functions? Means like there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 legislative. You can choose any six according to you. So such as he summons the joint sitting of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha in case of deadlock. Deadlock means if there is no any uh, deadlock means if both houses Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha does not come to any final decision, then deadlock occurs, and in that deadlock president can has a capacity to vote and end the deadlock. Okay, he addresses the Indian parliament and the commencement of first session of every general election. He appoints speaker, deputy speaker, Lok Sabha, etc. Okay, so these are the certain legislative functions that you can also read and point out, such as 12 members of Rajya Sabha. He can nominate the members of Lok Sabha and Anglo-Indian community, you know that one. He lays the following reports before the parliament: comptroller and auditor general, Union Public Service Commission, Finance Commission. So these are the certain points that president enjoys. Financial powers of president, like he can introduce money bill. His prior recommendation is must. He causes union budget to be laid before the parliament. To make demands for the grants, his recommendation as a prerequisite. Contingency fund of India is under the control. So these are the financial powers. Okay, judicial power means appointment of chief justice of Supreme Court as well as High Court. He can take advice of Supreme Court. Yeah, and more upon he has a certain pardoning power for capital punishment, etc. Diplomatic powers means he approves certain international treaties, agreements that are approved by the parliament. He can also negotiate, etc. Okay, he can represent himself in international forums and affairs, etc. Military power means he is a supreme commander in chief of army, navy and air force. Okay, army uh, army navy and air force. This can be in United States of America also, president also. So these are the certain things. Emergency power of president means national emergency. Whenever there is an emergency situation, he can call off the national emergency and can dissolve Lok Sabha also. In case of presidential rule also, if that state is not performing well, if that state has militant activities, that state can come under president rule also. Financial emergency is also related to the finance. If the country is suffering from a financial losses, that kind of emergency, in that emergency, he can use his powers. So that was the president. Now let's understand what is prime minister. Okay, powers and position of prime minister. The office of the prime minister is the most powerful office in the India, because real power lies in the hands of prime minister, not in president. President is just nominal. If the cabinet is the strongest institution, the prime minister is the strongest person. The cabinet under the constitution of India, the real center powers is the office of the prime minister. He is the head of the government of India. He is the real custodian of executive authority. It's very simple. Okay, so whatever it be, he is the most powerful person in India. Okay, appointment of prime minister. The constitution simply lays down the prime minister is to be appointed by the president. How? In doing so, president follows the rules of the parliamentary system. He appoints the leader of the majority house of a Lok Sabha. How a Lok Sabha people are elected? With the voting system. Okay, people choose their representative, and from that party there will be one president, major one president, and and from that party itself, their name will be selected as a president, and he can become a prime minister. Okay. President plays a very important role or a little president plays a very little role in the appointment of leaders such as a party or a coalition group of the prime minister. However, in case of no party gets majority, some parties are even unable to elect a common candidate as their leader or president can play a real role in appointment of prime minister. If a party don't have like a common view of electing one candidate, then at that period of time president can play a very vital role in electing a prime minister. Prime minister need not always be from Lok Sabha. Now this is quite interesting. Between 1950 to 1960, the prime minister always belonged to the Lok Sabha, but it was convenient and not a law. But this was a convention, not a law. Okay, this convention was broken in 1996. April 1997, May 2004, and May 2009. Since 2004, for the second consecutive time since May 2009, Dr. Manmohan Singh has become a prime minister, as he has been and still a member of a Rajya Sabha, because he was a member of Rajya Sabha, not the member of Lok Sabha. So, thus the convention that Prime Minister always belonged to Lok Sabha now stands broken. The Prime Minister can be from either house of the Parliament. Okay. The only essential condition is that he must be adopted or elected leader of majority in the Lok Sabha. So this is quite interesting. Okay. It might come also in a tricky question also. So this is just an example. So the prime minister need not always be from Lok Sabha. He can be from Rajya Sabha, and president can choose him. So prime minister need not be a sitting member of the parliament. Now, further, any person who is not a member of the either house of the parliament can become prime minister, and he can remain office for 6 months. Within this period, he has to essentially get the membership of either house in case he feels he loses the office of the prime minister. If the prime minister is not a member of Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, what happens? He can be elected as a president, but prime minister, but he has to get a majority membership from either from Lok Sabha, either from Rajya Sabha. Otherwise, his prime ministership will be cancelled. Okay. No formal qualification. The Constitution lays no formal qualification for the Prime Minister. Since no person who is not a member or cannot become a member of Parliament can be appointed as Prime Minister, it can be said that the qualification essential for the membership of Parliament are also the essential qualification for the office of the Prime Minister. So there is no formal qualification. Okay, the most the at least qualification the least qualification should be like he should be the member of Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. Even he is not the member of Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, within a 6 month he has to get a membership from either house of the parliament, that is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Now, tenure. Theoretically, okay, prime minister hold office during the pleasure of president like during the pleasure of president. It means that as long as he enjoys the confidence in the majority in Lok Sabha, he is a prime minister. The majority means ruling party. Okay, he is a prime minister. Lok Sabha can pass a vote of no confidence motion against him, and in this case, prime minister either submits his resignation to the president or gets dismissed by the president. Okay, so if a Lok Sabha sees that his party president is not confident, then Lok Sabha can pass a vote of no confidence motion and president can dismiss him. Whenever it may appear that prime minister party has lost the majority in the Lok Sabha, the president can ask him to prove his majority in the house. A failure to do so compels the prime minister to either resign or face a dismissal at the hands of president. It's very simple. Powers and functions of Prime Minister. Formation of Council of Ministers. This is one of the most important functions of Prime Minister. The task of formation of ministry begins when the appointment of Prime Minister by the President. When the prime minister is appointed, then what happens? This is president, and whenever the prime minister appointments, now he need to appoint different council of minister, and that task begins after the appointment of prime minister. President appoints all other ministers on the advice of president. Now these are all other ministers. Okay, prime minister will advise the name of this particular person, and that particular person can be appointed in a council of minister. The prime minister determines the strength of his minister and selects his team of membership. Who selects? Prime minister. However, this number cannot be more than 15% of total membership of Lok Sabha. Normally, most of the ministers are drawn from the Lok Sabha. Prime Minister decides who among them shall be the cabinet minister and who will be the minister of state or a deputy minister. It is in the hands of Prime Minister to divide portfolios. Who will be in charge of what portfolio or what department, that is decided by the Prime Minister. If he so desires, even have one or two deputy prime minister in the council of ministers, then prime minister is there, then deputy prime minister can also be there, because he can choose that deputy prime minister also. Allocation of portfolios. Now, as I've already said, it is an undisputed privilege of prime minister to allocate portfolios to his minister. Which particular department is to be given? This means which particular department is to be given to which minister is determined by prime minister. Any minister objecting to such allotment invites the wrath of the prime minister and can get completely ignored from the ministry. Means the prime minister has a full authority to choose which person will be which person will be the minister of particular department. If someone comes and says that he or she is not satisfied by the decision given by the prime minister, at that period of time the prime minister can completely ignore him. Okay, change of portfolios. It is in the hands of the prime minister that portfolios can be changed. Means the ministers at any time can be changed. Okay, because he can shuffle and reshuffle his ministry. Because if this one prime minister chooses A, B and C as to hold defense ministry, finance ministry and home department, defense department, finance department and home department, and after 2 or 3 years he sees that he wants to reshuffle, then A can become B and C. Okay, and otherwise C can become an A, like this. He can reshuffle it. Okay, reshuffle the power and positions also. Okay, chairman of the cabinet. The prime minister is the leader of the cabinet. He presides over the meeting. He decides the agenda of meeting. In fact, all the matters in the cabinet are decided with the approval and the consent of prime minister. It is up to him to accept or reject the proposal for discussion in the cabinet. All the minister conforms to his views and policies. There is scope for deliberation and discussion about the opposition. So who is the chairman of cabinet? Prime minister is the chairman of the cabinet. He has a sole authority to decide or give approval or consent over the views and policies that are proposed in a cabinet, and this can be done by deliberation, discussion, talks, etc. And removal of ministers. The prime minister can demand resignation from any minister at any time and later has accept which wishes of the former. However, if any minister may fail to resign, the prime minister can get him dismissed from the president. In April 2010, Mr. Shashi Tharoor had to submit his resignation because Prime Minister Manmohan Singh had asked him to do so. Now, Chief Coordinator. Prime Minister acts as a general manager of the state and a chief coordinator, that he coordinates he acts as a coordinator for all departments to secure cooperation among the government department. He is the one who resolves disputes among the ministers also. Leader of the parliament. Yes, as a leader of the majority of Lok Sabha, prime minister is a leader of parliament also. because he has a uh, capacity that prime minister, who is in consultant with speaker of Lok Sabha, decides the agenda of the house. So speaker is also there, okay, and he decides what needs to be talked in the parliament. Power to get parliament dismissed. The parliament prime minister has a power to the advise of president in dismissal of Lok Sabha. This power of dissolution really means that the member hold their seats in the house in the mercy of prime minister. If prime minister thinks that if prime minister is happy, then no dissolution will be taken. But if prime minister is not happy, then the council of ministers or a parliament can be dismissed. Okay, it has been rightly remarked that in that this is such an important weapon in the hands of prime minister that it binds the party men and even the members of opposition also. So ruling party is also there and opposition party is also there, and if the prime minister like sees that both the party has not been doing certain good things, like party members are not doing good things, then he can like dismiss the parliament also. Okay, so this is the certain powers. Now, position of prime minister. Now the office of prime minister is very powerful. A study of powers and function of prime minister clearly brings out the fact that he holds the most powerful office in India. Now we have been reading about the powers and functions of prime minister. By seeing these powers of powers and functions, and we can make it out that the office of prime minister is very powerful. He is the real and formidable power in every aspects of governmental activities, that is, be it legislative, executive, and financial. The prime minister is the captain of the ship of the state. Okay, uh, it acts as a stone of cabinet or in the steering wheel of the government, and the moon amongst lesser stars. Okay, this means that he acts as a binding factor. Okay, binding factor in every aspect. Whole organization such as council of ministers is totally dependent upon the prime minister. The president always acts accordance in the advice of prime minister. The ministry making is a sole right of prime minister. Whoever he wants to choose, what kind of ministers he want to have, that has prime minister can choose on his will. The resignation or removal of prime minister always means of the resignation of council of ministers. If the prime minister is resigned, then whole of the council of ministers shall also be resigned. Resignation should be given. Prime minister is the center of gravity and the foundation of stones of the council of ministers. Without prime minister, council of ministers has no valid authenticity or valid power. President of India always acts upon the advice of prime minister, that I have already discussed. The PM cannot become a dictator. The Prime Minister of India enjoys a very strong position, yet he neither can be a dictator or behave like a dictator. His office is very democratic, and with and he can come to the office of Prime Minister only by effective participation in a democratic process. The party to which Prime Minister belongs is his own ministerial colleagues who are his competitors. The leader of opposition party, the President of India, the Parliament, the press, the Constitution, and in public general acts as a limitations upon him. So everything, whatever he is there, certain things are there that people are seeing. So the press media, the president, the opposition leader of opposition party also sees it. If he or she is misusing the power of prime minister, then limitation acts upon him. This prevents him from becoming dictator and from acting in arbitrary ways. So these are the certain organization, certain department that maintains check and balance over the power of the prime minister. So, I have completed political executive of India, that is president and prime minister. So in next video I'll talk about the president of United States of America. Till then, stay safe and take care. Compile your notes.